Once upon an ill-fated tomorrow, there was a city, infected by the sickness of greed, a desire for gold over all things. So the buildings crumbled, and the fields died as the rich grew richer and the poor poorer. On the banks of the greasy grey river, old Mother Mud sat spinning flax into yarn with her 3 children. The 2 twins, in sickness, spoke. "Our bellies rumble, we have no meat. Whoever drops their spindle, we shall eat." So in silence they span, and the mother's spindle fell. "No, don't eat her, eat me, please, and be well," the youngest said. The twins said, "Look," a nod of the head, and on they span. And the mother's spindle fell, again, and again, and once more again. Once or twice is once or twice, but thrice is thrice, and 4 is no more. Now you are meat. "No, please, it's me you can eat." But with her own yarn, they strangled her. With sharp iron, carved her, on a hot fire roasted her, and piece by piece, arm and leg, they ate her. But for the next 40 nights, the youngest, little Muddyfeet, gathered the bones, washed them in the greasy grey river, smoked them over the fire, hid them beneath a stone, and all the while they prayed. "Mud and bone, ash, water, smoke and stone, let love be more powerful than greed. Mud and bone, ash, water, smoke and stone, let love be more powerful than greed. Let love be more powerful than greed." And the last prayer of the last night, they heard their mother's voice. "Love is greater, greater than greed. Plant these bones and love will seed. Love is greater, greater than greed. Plant my bones and love you'll see." So on the hill, overlooking the city at the source of the greasy grey river, they planted those bones for a final time. The sickly sun set, and as they slept, a green spear broke the soil up, up, up to pierce the hollow sky. The sun rose. On the grave, a great tree, arms wide. On the branches, a flower, rare and fine, glittering, radiant with solar lines like sun, like stars, like moon above. It floated to the ground, soft as a dove. It was a dress, like silk and yet not silk. In one pocket, seeds. In the other, gold coins. Another, always filling again. Muddyfeet thanked the mother tree, took the dress under their arm, set off home, arriving before the twins had woken and hiding it well. On Sunday, the twins went to the temple. The temple was an old bank in the heart of the city where the people would gather to pray to the billionaire space gods of old, to pray for riches and wealth. As soon as they'd left, Muddyfeet put on the dress, shining like the heavens above, and followed them into the city. The moment they entered the temple, a hush fell, filled with the rush of 1,000 voices gasping as one. Muddyfeet shone, too bright to behold. "A billionaire! A billionaire! A billionaire! A billionaire!" That was the whisper that spread like wildfire, and when Muddyfeet opened their mouth to speak, silence fell. "Hear this. Your gods are dead. I bring you their bodies. I bring you their heads." And from their pocket, Muddyfeet scattered gold coins into the crowd. 1,000 people dived to the ground, and over the chaos, Muddyfeet spoke again. "Hear this. My goddess is alive. Plant her, love her. She will survive." And from the other pocket, Seeds. We don't want seed, we want gold. Give us gold, give us more. The crowd surged, chasing Muddyfeet from the temple, and as they ran, the dress caught and tore on a sharp wire fence, pulling away the pocket of gold and leaving a single sleeve hanging from the wire. The crowd fought and pushed and kicked and punched, pulling the pocket of gold until it ripped in two, and only then was the flow of gold coins ended, and they looked around to see that Muddyfeet was gone. Muddyfeet made their way home, the dress shrivelling and drying like an old leaf, so they cast it into the fire and dressed again in rags. And just as they'd done so, the twins arrived. Muddyfeet, you should have been there at the temple today. A billionaire came down from the heavens. Oh, their dress was to die for. They gave us gold coins. Look, see, you have missed out. You poor rat, you. I don't care what you picked up from the ground. You're welcome to keep it. By the temple, there was one in the crowd called Shoeless. And while everyone else was fighting over gold coins, Shoeless was filling their pockets with seeds, because they longed to see green things growing again. And once the crowd had gone, they took the sleeve from the wire and wondered what it was, like silk and yet not silk. So they went about the city, asking everyone they could what it could be, but nobody could tell them, and eventually it had dried like withering paper, turning too soon to dust. So Shoeless walked up the greasy grey river, dejected, looking for a solitude for their sorrow. But it wasn't solitude or sorrow they found, but wonder. There, on the hill, the tree growing, on the branches, the flower, like silk and yet not silk, and brilliant as the stars in the sky. So Shoeless waited, falling asleep. The Sunday sun rose and Muddyfeet arrived to pick that new flower dress. Who are you? And what do you want? My name's Shoeless. If you're here for the gold, take it. It means nothing to me. No, look. And seeing those seeds and that anxious, kind smile, Muddyfeet realised their prayers had come true. Here was a person that valued love over greed. So Muddyfeet didn't go to the temple that day, nor did they go home, and they were not seen the week after that, or the week after that, and the people of the city wondered where their billionaire had got to. But in the shack by the river, the two twins were also wondering where their brat of a sibling had gone. And as that shack got filthier, they began to hunt for Muddyfeet. Muddyfeet and Shoeless were in love. Living on that shack on the hill, they built a house, planted a garden, and when they weren't tending the soil, they would walk the city streets, scattering seeds in the cracks, and across the wastelands, tempting the green to grow again. But one day, the twins saw them and followed them up the greasy grey river. And the twins saw the house, and the twins saw the tree, and the twins saw the dress flower growing. That brat of a sibling is the billionaire. They've been keeping all their gold a secret from us. Ah, the little liar. We ought to teach them a lesson. Night fell, and a storm rolled in as the two twins crept, axes in hand, up the hill. The sound of the rain and the thunder masking the noise as they chop, chopped. And the mother tree came crashing down. First, they stole the pocket of gold. Then, they broke up the branches and made a hard wooden chest. Then, they crept into the house where they found their sibling sleeping. They bound and gagged Muddyfeet, locking them tight inside the chest, which they dragged down to the river, pushed it into the water, and they laughed the way home. That chest, it washed out into the ocean, into a day, into a week, into a month, into a year. Muddyfeet sustained by drinking the sticky, sweet sap that dripped from the branches until the chest, broken open on hard rocks all about a desert, no fresh water flowed, no green plants growing, and their tears, slow, drop, 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 onto the broken branches. But where those tears fell, look there, a green shoot, a bud, a leaf, up and out, round and over. And as Muddyfeet watched, the broken branches became the circle of trees. The circle of trees became a living house. So Muddyfeet lived there, alone, in the desert. And they dug a well for their water. And they made a bed of soft leaves. And they planted a garden. And they were all alone. A long year ago, Shoeless awoke to find Muddyfeet gone. And their tears too, drop, drop, dropped onto the broken trunk of the mother tree. But where those tears fell, a voice. Raise me up and roll me down into the river safe and sound. Oh, raise me up and roll me down into the river safe and sound. Into the river safe and sound. And when that broken trunk touched the water of the river, a bud, a leaf, a shoot, up, out, round, over, up, out, round, over, as they watched, that broken trunk became a living ship with a great mast of a tree trunk, great wide leaves for sails. And the people of the city, they all came out to watch the living ship as it sailed away. The two twins were gleeful. With riches beyond counting, they scented themselves in fine perfumes, dressed in the best of clothes, and built a mansion where their crooked shack had once stood, and for a while all was well. Until, where have you hidden the pocket of gold? Oh, fair twin of mine. Me, it's you who's always hiding it. Last time we lost it, it was in your room. Because you put it there, you're trying to fame me. It's mine, 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 mine. And so they bickered and fought and took the pocket of gold and pulled back, forth, until it went up and out and down through the window and into the greasy, grey river. And there it caught fast on a branch. And the coins began to flow, another, 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 and the river began to fill with gold coins. There was so much gold, it soon became worthless. The gold sickness was broken. The city was healed. And the people looked around and began to realize they had to help one another, to replant the fields and the trees, to rebuild the buildings, to clean the greasy waters of the river and make life good again. And so that's what they did, but there were two in that city who could not change. The two twins lived alone in the empty mansion beside the gold river, where they grew thinner and meaner, hungrier and crueler. until one day, "We are hungry, fair twin of mine, one of us should eat. Give yourself to me, for I am the eldest. Eldest by 2 seconds, I'm the tallest. Tallest by 2 inches, I'm the cleverest. If you were cleverer, we'd have food to eat by now." And so they bickered, from bickering to fighting, to kicking to punching, to scratching to spitting, until they had no strength left. And as they lay on the floor, one of them took the other by the foot and began to eat, gnawing and biting, bit by bit, bite by bite, and the other did the same. And the two twins consumed one another. Shoeless rescued Muddyfeet, and they travelled back across the ocean, back through a year, a month, a week and a day, to find the city growing green again. The streets were filled with laughter and music and love, and the wild wastelands rang with the sound of blackbirds in the thickets, skylarks on the wing. But on the banks of the Golden River, there was a mansion, abandoned, that no one ever entered. And inside that mansion, sat on 2 piles of gold that no one would ever spend, were 2 bodiless heads, cursing one another, alone for all eternity. To eat our mother is to eat ourselves. Bark and root, branch and bone, my tale is told, my lips are sewn, my song is sung, and now I'm done.